الله أكبر. الله يحفظ الأخوة.
The B-52 Stratofortress, the bomber that refuses to die. An aircraft designed in the 1940s is still dropping bombs in combat in 2026. It's older than the parents of the pilots flying it, and the US Air Force just spent $2 billion to keep it flying past 2060, possibly to 100 years old. This is the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress, and this is its story. Welcome back to Skywars. Today, we're diving into one of the most remarkable aircraft ever built, a Cold War bomber designed to deliver nuclear weapons deep into Soviet territory, which has outlasted every rival, every replacement program, and every attempt to retire it. The B-52 entered service in 1955. It has 8 engines, can carry up to 70,000 pounds of ordnance, and has a combat range of around 8,800 miles. In 2025, it celebrated 70 years of continuous frontline service, a record no other combat aircraft in history has matched. Work on the B-52 began in early 1946. At the time, the US Air Force's long-range heavy bomber was the B-29 Stratofortress, the same aircraft that dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. But the B-29 and its successor, the B-50, lacked the range, speed, and payload needed for what was coming next, the Cold War. In 1949, the US introduced the Convair B-36, a giant aircraft with a 230-foot wingspan, 6 piston engines, and later 4 additional jet engines added in pairs. Impressive for its time, but its low cruising speed quickly made it obsolete for nuclear strike missions. Boeing drew on the successful design of the medium-range B-47 Stratojet and presented a new concept: 8 turbojet engines, a swept-wing design, a top speed of around 560 miles per hour, and the ability to carry bombs over 8,000 miles, far enough to reach Moscow and return. The Air Force ordered 2 flying prototypes. The first, the XB-52, was badly damaged during ground testing. The second, the YB-52, made its first flight on April 15, 1952. Flight testing followed, serial production began in 1954, and the first operational B-52Bs entered service in 1955. In total, 744 B-52S were produced across multiple variants. The last aircraft, the H-series, rolled off the production line in 1962. That means the youngest B-52 flying today is over 63 years old. The B-52 follows a classic aerodynamic layout: a swept wing, 8 engines mounted in paired pods under the wings, and a bicycle-type landing gear with a distinctive oval fuselage with flat sides. The crew of 6 operates across 2 levels. On the upper deck sit the pilot and co-pilot side by side, with the electronic warfare officer behind them. On the lower deck are the navigator and weapons officer. Early versions also included a tail gunner, first repositioned to the main cockpit, then eventually eliminated entirely as aircraft defenses became more sophisticated. The landing gear is unusual. 4 paired main struts run along the fuselage centerline, with 2 small outrigger struts at the wingtips for stability. Remarkably, the main gear can rotate up to 20 degrees left or right, allowing the aircraft to land in a crab position during crosswind conditions. All variants except the final H-series used Pratt & Whitney J57 turbojet engines with water methanol injection to boost takeoff thrust. The H-series switched to more efficient Pratt & Whitney TF33 turbofan engines, which remain installed today, though not for much longer. Weapons are carried in the internal bomb bay and on 2 underwing pylons, giving the B-52 its enormous payload capacity of up to 70,000 pounds. The B-52 was designed for one purpose above all else: delivering nuclear weapons. In its early years, it carried free-fall atomic bombs of various yields, maintaining continuous airborne alert patrols during the tensest years of the Cold War. As surface-to-air missile technology improved, simply flying high was no longer enough. The B-52 was adapted to carry decoy missiles, radar-reflecting drones designed to confuse enemy air defenses, and later equipped with cruise missiles carrying thermonuclear warheads, allowing it to strike targets from hundreds of miles away without entering the threat envelope. The US military also experimented with low-altitude terrain-following missions to avoid radar detection. These were tested, but never used in actual combat. The B-52 first went to war in Vietnam, flying from June 1965 to August 1973. Operating mainly at high altitude with conventional bombs, it flew over 120,000 combat sorties and lost between 29 and 34 aircraft, depending on the source. The most intense period was Operation Linebacker 2, the so-called Christmas bombings, a 12-day campaign in which B-52s flew more than 700 sorties and dropped over 15,000 tons of bombs. Next came the Gulf War in 1991, where B-52s used cruise missiles with conventional warheads for the first time to strike Iraqi airfields and fuel infrastructure. The aircraft went on to fly in Afghanistan, Yugoslavia, Iraq, and Syria. Over its service life, around 70 B-52s have been lost to all causes, including accidents, mechanical failures, and crashes involving nuclear weapons on board. In none of these incidents did an atomic bomb detonate, though conventional explosives within the weapons sometimes did. At least 6 accidents involved nuclear weapons. 2 stand out. On January 17, 1966, a B-52 carrying 4 thermonuclear bombs collided with a KC-135 tanker over Spain. 2 bombs broke apart on impact, scattering radioactive material and causing significant contamination that required an extensive cleanup. On January 21, 1968, a B-52 crashed onto sea ice near Thule Air Base in Greenland while carrying 4 thermonuclear bombs. The crash detonated conventional triggering charges in the weapons, but no nuclear explosion occurred. Radioactive material spread over a wide area. In 1994, another crash occurred at Fairchild Air Force Base during a training flight. The pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Holland, was known for aggressive maneuvers at airshows. His crash led to sweeping reforms of airshow flight regulations across the US Air Force. Here's where the story gets remarkable. The US Air Force currently operates 76 B-52H Stratofortresses. Rather than retire them, the Pentagon is investing more in this aircraft than at almost any point in its history. In December 2025, Boeing was awarded a $2 billion contract to begin the most ambitious upgrade in the B-52's life. The aircraft is being redesignated the B-52J, and the changes are sweeping. The 8 aging Pratt & Whitney TF-33 engines, which the manufacturer warned it can no longer support after 2030, are being replaced with Rolls-Royce F1 3.0 turbofans, a military derivative of the commercial BR-725 engine. In late 2025, the first B-52 fitted with a new Active Electronically Scanned Array AESA radar completed its ferry flight to Edwards Air Force Base for testing. Production decisions are expected through 2026. Additional upgrades cover power generation, hydraulics, cockpit displays, and communications suites designed to integrate with modern Joint Command networks. The total program cost is estimated at $48.6 billion, with work expected to be completed by 2033. The upgraded aircraft are planned to fly into the 2050s, and if maintained, potentially to 2060 and beyond. This would make the B-52 the first military aircraft in history to serve for 100 years. So the next time someone tells you old technology can't compete, remember the B-52, designed before the TV remote control, still dropping bombs in combat in 2026. And the US Air Force just bet $48 billion that it will still be relevant in 30 years. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.